League of Legends. 3, 2, 1.
Starting lineup: Yorick, Diana, Lux, Y, Ashe, up against Teemo, Kayn, Yasuo, Samira, Kled. Rating of the picks for a lower ranked game: Yorick as a top, 10. Diana in the jungle, 4. Lux as a mid, 9. Y as a shooter, 6. Ashe in support, 0. Teemo as a top, 4. Kayn in the jungle, 5. Yasuo as a mid, 8. Kled in support, 10. Yorick part of that pack of champions who was able to become a cat with a certain skin. Makes it very confusing for new players who it actually is. I don't know what is more ridiculous, Yorick as a cat or Battle Queen Diana, and it doesn't take much in a game like this to be the most serious player on the map. Some of these players are stuck in a loop of their own emotions, which is dragging everybody down, making lower tier last longer for everyone. Let's see how we can navigate these obstacles. A good amount of confusion here early on the red team, and I never thought that I would ever say the words, but perhaps this Kled player should look into some more movement speed. A very good understanding here of how to use the ultimate, but really focusing just on that and kind of helpless without it. As we will soon see, the contrast between when the ult is up and when it is not up. With a bit of awareness, you can definitely, given Kled's natural tankiness, dive in here a couple of times. This coordination was strange to me, and it was unclear what this Kled player wanted to accomplish early on in game. The way that I would run this is I would stick Kled out there a couple of times. When he's mounted up, you use the movement ability to create chaos between these two squishies, Ashe and Y, and you allow your shooter in Samira a kind of barrier so she can go to work. And what we get here, mostly, is Kled taking up shooter position and waiting for me to tank it, and then dive in, and then be surprised that I'm somehow not staying and tanking it all the way. But fortunately, redemption is on the way, because to this Kled player, his ultimate spell was everything. That ultimate kicks in, we see the real Kled. And I don't know what is more insane, the fact that this kind of support player is still in the lowest rank possible, or the fact that this is now the first time that we've ever seen Kled being used as a support on the channel. Please go ahead and count the amount of times that we've seen Blitzcrank by now. Was it worth it? This is what I was talking about. You get these extremely useful warrior-style individuals who have such a rich kit and can defend themselves in every position. They're never helpless when they're by themselves. They can stand on their own 2 feet. And there's no discrimination here. Kayn is invited to the party. You expose that squishiness of Y to such an extent, and just no chance whatsoever. With this kind of build and this kind of team comp, what would happen if the cavalry charged into the archers? Redefining the meaning of the word support. And this Ashe, without people realizing it in the lower tiers, much the same core concept in terms of awaiting cooldown as this Kled building around his ultimate. And so helpless, this fancy color kit for the arrows and the bow. A character more overvalued than any other in the amateurs. Ashe. And that misunderstanding is what this play is all about. And just able to take it anywhere. With that kind of mobility, you could help out anybody in the mid lane as well. And just Kled, the definition of a playmaker. We hear about missed opportunities all the time, and now we see the alternative. This team fight sequence, the only real resolve that the blue team had. We always look to the same things for wins and losses. The turret is still undefeated. Go in too deep and I pay the price. Yasuo, so much power, so conditional, it is the same story every day. Completely drawn in by his own combo, unable to stop. And this Diana is no master of the game, but she has the ability to walk in a straight line. The ultimate amateur mistake, pushing fights around turrets. That's me being too greedy, Yasuo being Yasuo. And Kled here bearing the consequences of his team's actions. Yorick tanking with great hesitancy here, primarily getting the mistress beat up. And as much as you combo with Yasuo, that Yorick health pool is just too large. Throughout this entire sequence, Diana uses either one spell or no spell at all. Just lets her teammates die left and right. Teemo has a big yap, but he's completely staying out of team fights. And very little in his kit to contribute heavily to team fights. You see that lack of cohesion in this team that is so typical for the lower ranks, but it's not gonna be enough to bring us down. Be a little less greedy next time and go to work with that poke some more. Using movement abilities away from turrets rather than toward them. That's the key issue here. The opening kill shows some of that burst potential of Samira, but I've really never witnessed a champion who benefits more from movement speed, and I'm just gonna be running behind the wagon here and being excluded from the rest of the play. Yomu and Samira must have a love relationship. We have this Kanye West becoming enamored with one of the worst champions in the game, but in the lower tiers it all comes down to character and team cohesion, so you end up getting away with it. Although I don't want to know what this guy is doing when he's facing Warwick or Wukong. Those assassin items weigh heavy on somebody's mana bar. Get to enjoy Kanye West playing nothing but the black keys here. Going wild on that keyboard because with Axiom Arc, Cyrilda, and Ionian Boots, those abilities are up all the time. Lux, as we said yesterday. Lux, as we said the day before yesterday, dies a warrior's death whether she wants to or not. That's why you never see her in pro play, just no escape tools. If you don't have a good idea of when you're going to get ganked and when you're going to get overwhelmed, that is just a guaranteed death on Lux. Who knows what was going on in this Y's head? Whether he was getting emotional, whether he was getting triggered. It's either nihilism or rage. Those are the two only emotions and motivations behind such behavior. Where obviously, when you're being used as a piñata, you adjust your build, even if it means selling off everything. Ashe being Ashe in the amateurs, just late for looks, because you want that fantasy of the clean bow, and those nice colors coming off of it, but you should have bought a lava lamp. This is League of Legends. It makes you question, why not Cassante? Why not Echo? We get to lift up that veil of some of these hyper-progressive young people, and what we see is an attraction to all-white everything, even though it doesn't effing work in the game. And if you keep asking the same questions, you're gonna keep getting the same answers. You trot out Ashe there like a super heavy tank. That's a free lunge. And we get that sidestepping element again from Yorick. You're taking a bunch of damage anyway, you may as well be attacking. Movement without merit is very dangerous in League. Be careful not to fool yourself. Why designed to buy everybody on Team Red free stuff? And at this point, if you're blue and you're serious, Yorick Yorick, the serious player, go guerrilla style and try to take down red turrets by yourself. Stop following other people around who have no idea what they're doing. You could have won your duel with Teemo. We get this hilarity near the end of Ashe using her little iceberg thing, her little iceberg scout thing in the middle of the team fight at the blue base, like that's gonna change anything. Break it all down into smaller pieces. Take it in, analyze the game. You have Teemo, who's pinging and talking more than anyone, but contributing less than anyone. Has been yapping since before the match, but in effect, zero social concern or responsibility from this Teemo player. And I am very gradually growing very cold toward Teemo in general. Nothing team player about Teemo. Much the same here. We have Kane, who has his own little petty grief going with spiting his teammates because they didn't immediately help him out on the Drake, or they didn't immediately help him out on Atakan. As a jungler, you cannot think that anybody owes you any assistance inherently in a lower tier game. We have this Yasuo player, and it's sad to say, but this is one of the better Yasuo players that we've had on the channel, which is really saying something, because he doesn't understand the cap mechanic, and he's not giving Yasuo enough durability, but mechanically very familiar with his champion, in control of the game, passionate about his play, and in a very low-key way, helping everyone. We have myself in Samira. May have to look at some extra mobility tools, and a lot of what I'm seeing in this Samira with the naturally favorable health scaling is a way to address this issue that we see in every game of Jinx handing the enemy team 10 deaths, or Ashe trying to avoid paying the enemy's bills. Quiet way. The shooter position so poorly played, and such a freebie for an enemy Warwick or an enemy Shaco or an enemy Zed to snack on. Shooter somehow became the real support position, because there is no greater support that you can give your team than to avoid deaths. We have this Kled player, an example for everyone. Imagine what games would look like if we could have this in every game, instead of this steady diet of Zoe and Fortune and Jhin in support. We have this Yorick player who is building his character with attack speed. In this position, you should go 1. Kanik, 2. Tornmail, 3. Heartsteel. That should be your Yorick build. But you were sincere about pushing your lane, and you should have kept at it. It was a dumb idea to start following other people around. We have this Diana player. How does this happen? Self-hatred. That's all it is. This person has thousands of hours on this game, is above Aquamarine rank, to the point where I don't even know what that rank is called, and is going complete clown mode and simply not even using spells. On, it must be said, a very fitting champion to be a clown on, Diana. We have this Lux in mid, who seems to have nearly no mechanical skill, and I've noticed now a couple of times that in casual Swift play, people are actually frequently more serious than in this lower bottom of the barrel ranked. Crabs in a bucket. We have this Y player who went 0, 9, and 0. So you're either in a rage or you're having some kind of cognitive issue. By itself, the build wasn't even that bad. And then we have this Ashe player, quite possibly the worst support that you could possibly think of. I would say even worse than Jinx, because Jinx could at least brawl for a second. You're into pretty things. You're into things looking nice. Go play a different game. This isn't for you. This has nothing to do with you. This game is not about some kind of female Robin Hood fiesta where you get the glowing lights and the pretty colors. Ashe is a boring, assist-oriented ADC who lives and dies for her ultimate. And even though Jackie Love builds her with Infinity Edge, it is only in the most boring possible way to simply not fall behind. And that is all that the DPS is there for. On the highest level, every little number counts, so they have to milk even dry cows. But they themselves know that the only real reason why Ash is there or Ash is in a ban is just because of that ultimate. And I think it is about high time that we bring down the pick rating for Ash on the channel. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, everything that we've seen from this person suggests, and that includes his ban, that he desires to think as little as possible. You rarely see this. This is literally copy-pasted directly from the Assassin tab. You will find not infrequently that this kind of throwing yourself on Assassin items, I believe, by the way, it's interesting that you land on this because I believe that purely technically speaking, Kain is classified as a warrior. This will certainly not work at times unless you have great skill. Particularly not on an individual like Kain who is far, far, far from the meta. This kind of outcome suggests that unless you have great skill, this was an overall very one-sided game and there was very little threat from the enemy team. This type of build will become a burden to most teams when there's any kind of contest. You can certainly find a way to get your money's worth more. The fact that you can get this kind of record with these kinds of items suggests that either you have a very good feel for Yasuo and you are, generally speaking, mechanically good, or it suggests that you had very little competition and very little to fear from the enemy team. Why is this? Well, this is a naive entrepreneur's happy capitalist type of mindset where you reach out for the stars and you just assume that you can make him go brrrr as much as you like, which is not reality. Why? Because everything has a cap on it, but especially attack speed and movement speed. What does that mean? That above a certain level, and I could look it up, what exact number it is, but you certainly already reached it by combining Ruined King with Phantom Dancer above, even without the boots, above a certain extra percentage of attack speed, you will no longer really see a noticeable difference or add more attack speed. Translation: once you get Phantom Dancer, you add 60% attack speed to your game. At that point, you should start working on raw damage, or on crits, or even, dare I say it, shan't I be afraid to say it, for Yasuo as a mid, work on a tiny little bit of armor. Because, again, you're not gonna see a noticeable difference beyond a certain point. This person did exceptionally poorly. Let's have a look here. Well, it seems above all that you tapped out at a certain point and you simply did not spend all of your money to begin with. There is really nothing wrong by itself with this build. This is not exceptionally poor. Me personally, I would be very quick to go with the Hourglass. I think the Hourglass is one of the most underrated mage items, but there is nothing wrong with this. This must just be exceptionally poor mechanical skill. And we can see here that this Kain player, despite the fact that he doesn't have good farm speed and despite the fact that he was spending a lot of time running back and forth, this Kain player has never been behind on gold. We notice something here. When we look at Kled versus Samira, you see this consequence of sniping every kill, which is something that I have never done on Wukong and which I would never do as a support. It's kind of a waste to commit that much to supporting and filling the assistant position to then all the way at the end backpedal on it and grab all the gold for yourself so you can shine. This is something certainly that on a higher level will obviously become a problem. Just imagine in a Worlds game, Alistair having more cash than Kalista. One thing I've always said, even when I was completely bunkered down on Wukong in the jungle, is that nobody quite scales like a shooter bottom position. That is because ultimately, with my range, the items you're gonna get for Kled are never going to add as much to him as they could possibly add to me. If you buy Kled Ruined King, it's going to be partially wasted because he's not gonna have that reach. If you give Kled Bloodthirster, it's gonna be partially wasted because he's not gonna have that reach. I, as Samira, do. For now, this is fine, and we can all live with the results. But certainly higher up, this hoarding the money and hoarding the gold and being 5,000, 6,000 gold ahead of your carry will become a structural problem, and you will be hustling backwards playing support in that way.
Only need one eye to hit my mark.
Minions have spawned.
I never go out of style. Nothing more lethal than comfort. I'm the rose that survived the desert. Guns and swords go together like rice and saffron. Virtues? I've got a few. Vices? A few more. telling me to settle down? Not my style. I am the beauty and the beast.
First love.
Next breath, my beard lasts. Money buys a dime. Thrill buys a reputation. I feel most alive when I'm walking the line. Thrilling! Ha! Maybe I'll get a tattoo to celebrate the occasion.
All that Frost touches, we know.
Hope I get some blood on these boots. The color's a bit dull. Last person I loved thought I was too
An
late.
enemy has been slain.
Oh, the great feel my bastard face. This took years of practice for everyone else. Growing up, my mama taught me one lesson. Death isn't the scariest thing. It's a mother's rage. Why the average when I can be savage? Seize the moment! I don't work, I slay. Well, look at you. Well-behaved women don't make it in Noxus.
An enemy has been slain.
I'm not built to win. I'm built to conquer. The Ascendant think they own me. They are wrong. Refugee. That label is where I draw my strength.
Shut down.
The Empire values strength. I How did that old trick go again? Ah, right. Danger run! In every girl, there is a queen. Settle down.
You have slain an enemy.
Only need one eye to hit my mark. I never go out with style.
An enemy has been slain.
Indari was a great captain. She taught me how to shoot. I taught myself how to kill.
An ally has been slain. Turret plating will fall soon.
Nothing more lethal than comfort.
An enemy has been slain.
I fight on my
Rampage.
slices. A few more.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Why not both? My folks keep telling me to settle down.
Slain an enemy.
I am the beauty and the beast. Money buys a gun. Thrill buys a reputation.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain.
I feel most alive when I'm walking the line. It took years of practice for everyone else. Thrilling! Ha! Maybe I'll use a tattoo to celebrate the occasion.
An enemy has been slain. Double kill.
Hope I get some blood on these boots. The color's a bit dull. Last person I loved thought I was too reckless. They lost.
Executed. An enemy has been slain. Has destroyed a turret. Rampage. Has destroyed a turret.
Why be average when I can be savage? I don't walk, I slay.
Unstoppable. Double kill. Shut down. Shut down. turret has been destroyed.
Guys, gals, and other pals. Samira's back!
Executed.
Life's simple. Take the shot or lose the chance. Velvet women don't make it in Noxus. I'm barely
Team has destroyed a turret. Killing spree.
The Ascended think they own my country. They are wrong. Refugee. That label is where I draw my strength. The Empire values strength. I value style. We're good partners.
Rampage.
Danger runs from me.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
In every girl, there is a queen.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
How did that old keyboard? People always ask about my weapons. Right hand blaze, left hand thorn. Vanquish on the back? Simple as that.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.